Hi, I'm back and with a topic that is very close to my heart, but I always get a lot of backlash for it. So today I pissed off one of my best friends. So I was like, you know what, it can't get any worse. So let's go for it. It's all about games used for training. We're going to talk about icebreakers, which are dumb and everybody hates them. This is what I wrote and I'm going to talk you through it. And the last one is team building. So these three topics that are very close to my heart, and they divide the L&D community big time. And I wrote about it, and we're gonna read from this book now because I wrote about these activities in details. And it's not so much about what I like, and you know me, I always listen to people and science. And this is the route I would like to take this video down because I don't want to go back and forth. Yes, but people learn from games. Have I ever learned from a bloody game after I passed the age of 10? No. So this is what I'm saying. So as you know, I'm Sylvia, an organizational psychologist, and I am here to challenge corporate practices. And whilst I love those corporate videos that are just taking the mickey out of HR and everything that we do, and they make me laugh and I participate and I contribute, but I also would like to provide some alternatives and solutions. And I think that is more helpful. Let's have fun, take the mickey, but then, you know what? Let's find solutions as well. And here we're going to start with training games, you know? The spaghetti tower building, the hula hoop games, the whatever we come up with paper ring chain construction used to teach about teamwork. I'm not lying. I wrote all about it in my book, okay? And a lot of tips. So let's start with what is happening in the world of work and L&D and we're gonna start with ridiculous training activities, okay? Now don't fight back, but yes, you have to make it constructive and you need to be, yes, I agree with it, but that's not what's happening in the world of work. And you know that because you've been there, and I know that because I have been there. But I know that even better because I listen to what others have to say. So what I always recommend, and I'm going to say this, what I always recommend is that if you are an L&D practitioner, if you are a facilitator, ask people if they would like to play the games, okay? Because some people love it. Some people, me, absolutely hate and despise it with passion. And the moment you say, let's have an icebreaker, my brain shuts down and all I want to do is leave the room, okay? So in this video, I want to share some experiences of others and myself. So to get you to think that, you know what, maybe not everybody likes it. And my problem with when I get this backlash, but it's good for brain and development, yes, from qualified people. Unfortunately, the corporate world is not famous about neuroscientists working in it or professionally trained educators or psychologists. So we have unqualified people taking something that would work if it's done properly, and they just play games. Everybody has fun, and we all go home, but there is no learning, and half of the population likely to be upset because they did not want to take part. So the moment you start convincing me that is good for you, Sylvia, you play that game, you sound like a cult because you should not be, your job is not to convince others, but to facilitate learning. And this, I'm telling you, this is not how I learn. So you as a facilitator and trainer, you must listen to your audience, right? And I always find these people who fight back, but it's good for you, and they force you and convince you, and you know, those are the very same people who talk about diversity and inclusion. Can I please be included, or in this case excluded, or my need included, and then exclude me from these games? because you can't preach this but do the opposite. You can see I'm very upset today. I upset my best friend today and it bothers me. But hey, we're gonna get on with it. So let's start with ridiculous training activities. And this is my experience. And I'm just gonna read a lot from this book. Once a trainer, and I put the link, the book for the link for the book below, so you can get, because there's a lot of gems in here, to be honest. Once a trainer asked me to sing a song because I was 1 minute late. I didn't, of course. As a punishment, she forced the entire room to sing instead of me. Well, Hilton, you should do better with your corporate trainers. This is a real story. And I'm not the only person who is telling you these stories. And I'm going to read more of that because I like to listen to people. So, but before I go and tell you about other people's stories, let me tell you another one, okay? So it was 10 years ago now, 11. I was sent to a 2-day proximity management corporate training. 10 years on, 11 years on, I still have no idea what the training was about. Anyway, one of the activities involved a rubbish bin and 3 markers. The trainer placed the bin and assigned a spot 2-3 meters from the bin. We had to stand on the spot and throw the markers in the bin. We took turns and he ran the scoreboard. After 15 minutes, he ran a debrief and the learning outcome was, are you hearing it? Are you listening? Pay attention. The learning outcome for 30 and 40 years old people, we get better at what we practice. Wow. What a wow moment, right? I think we knew that before this training session. And we really didn't have to spend 20 minutes doing this because, that might work to teach the concept of practice makes perfect to 3 years old kids. But for adults, I think we pretty much passed that phase. We know that. So these are the ridiculous training activities I'm talking about, including the spaghetti tower, paper cup building, tower building activity. We know that even for team building, that we need to work together in order to achieve something. We don't need to build paper cup tower for that, okay? We don't need paper ring chain. I'm not joking. Look at this gentleman. He's a 50, 60 years old man, and this is what we make them do. Paper ring chain construction used to teach about teamwork. I literally built this for Christmas trees at home when I was 4 and 5. So now I need to replicate that activity when I'm 50 to understand that it's teamwork. Okay, great. Now let's move on and see what is it that we can do instead. Oh, one more experience from me. Once I had to attend an excruciatingly painful service culture program where each of us was asked to create something out of 29 pieces of Lego. How do you guys say it? I felt like a 4 years old, literally sitting on the floor in the living room with my grandma looking over me while I was building a house. So subsequently, the trainers are trained to do, right? Debrief the activity, desperately trying to link it to a main topic, inquiring about our learning outcome and asking, what did you guys learn? Not much about customer service for sure. This was my reply. I'm terrible. Why? All I can ask is why. Now, but don't listen to me because I'm going to give you more examples under the icebreakers. Now, what is it that we can do? So we are still with the training activities. Now, I'm not saying don't use training activities because not games, training activities. Leave it in the sandbox, okay? You are dealing with adults. Children learning principles and adult learning principles are very, very different. And this is what corporate trainers don't understand. So instead, design exercises that are related to the topic through which participants can demonstrate their learning. So teaching emphasizes on the theoretical knowing, but completely neglects the practical part of training. So focus on that, because people, whatever you try to teach people with these games, because if you look at any of these games, they are very childlike. These are age inappropriate for adults. So whatever you are trying to teach people with these games, they already learned it. They already know. So you don't need to do that. But what you can do is design activities, not games, that is related to the topic. There is one really cool exercise that I like to do. These are case studies. Give them case studies. They love to use their brain. And when they can't figure out the case study and solve the problem, they get really frustrated. And this is where you see adults start learning, okay, how can I do that? This is where the passion comes out. I give them banking case studies. I give them different industry case studies. And when you are teaching how to make business strategy, for example, you give them problems from a different industry, but the similar thing that they apply. So when I was doing a case study for one of the big restaurant chains here, I gave them 4 different problems. One is somebody wants to buy your restaurant chains. What would be ABC? Your sales has dropped. ABC. What can you do? What are the options that you can come up with? And they generated ideas, fantastic ideas, right? And some of them were even cascaded up to the corporate office. So focus on that. Have honest conversations about experiences in relation to the topic. Set aside honest in conversations, right? These are very, very important. And remember that your job as an L&D person is not to convince others, it's just to get their brain thinking. Your job is to get their brain thinking, let them to learn, and then later on they can apply it. This is your job. But you're not going to have that through trainings, okay? Now I can talk about this for so long, but let's move on to icebreakers, because I don't want to keep I want to keep the video short. Now, an icebreaker, and here I'm going to just read out for you what is these force fake conversations and bonding result. What is the feedback? So you can go online if you are a facilitator, if you are a corporate trainer, and if you are interested in people and want to do a good job, you must listen to your audience. And I'm sure you have gone and Googled it, right? How do people feel about icebreakers? Now here I'm going to give you a few. Here we go. It's the first one. I actually wasted 20 minutes of my time the other day sharing bullshit info based on the color of the M&M's candy I took out of the bag. Just like in kindergarten. It's not me who is using the word. The activity was, please explain what color you would like to be and why. Or if you could be any animal, what would you be? Now tell me this is not age inappropriate. Second one, we had to answer the question, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be? I would fire the L&D person based on this activity. And those ones who make them paint t-shirts and write something and design a house. Like, dude, what are you doing? I don't want to design a t-shirt. I want to just go and visit, it's in the book as well, the 6 learning principles of adults. And follow that. None of them says this. None of them. So I don't know why we don't rely on, same as with engagement activities. You guys had to show me one study that proves that activities, games, team building sessions, pizza parties, donut Fridays, they actually increase engagement. Where do we get this information from? Because this is not true. Third one. One time we had to throw a ball around in a circle to get to know each other. When it was my turn, I yelled, "I am, and I don't want this ball," before proceeding to throw it into the face of the person to my right. They laughed, the trainer didn't. Don't throw things into people's faces. Next one. Okay, to start, we are going to go around the classroom and introduce ourselves and say one interesting thing about ourselves. Yeah, this kind of stuff is the stuff that makes me slightly peeved for a while. From a teacher. First off, they back and they have us rubbing the shoulder of the person in front of us and playing Simon Says. Sexual harassment, like, just play on the line of HR. You are working on their team, okay? Don't touch people. For a volunteer group, we had an icebreaker where we had to invent an overcomplicated handshake for each person we met and learn weird facts about them, like what superpower they would have. I remember one of the onboarding question, what 3 things that I need to know about you? Nothing, absolutely nothing, okay? I'm good at my job. That's the only thing you should know about me. Last one, I just want to know who likes this? Who told you it was a good idea? Capital letters, this person is not happy. Is there some nonsense book that everyone keeps getting these ideas from? It is just, this is how we always did it kind of things going on. Of course there is books. How many books shall I show you? Corporate games, team building games, millions. And when you are not qualified and educated in this area, you're gonna take those books because you don't have anything else to go by, and you're gonna follow, and you're going to treat people like children. So, which is the infantilization theory, which I wrote about and explained in this book. Now, but let's look at educational psychologists' take on the whole icebreaker situation, because this is very important. Icebreakers can be used, but the question should be always, do we need it? If the team is cohesive and you really need to get down to business, they know each other, you don't need an icebreaker. Icebreaker is literally when the team, the participants don't know each other. Icebreakers serves a purpose to introduce a topic, and I'm going to tell you how. Now, but let's go through and just bear with me because I'm going to read a couple of pages in here. This is very, very important. Now, let's look at educational psychologists' take on the whole icebreaker situation without going deep into academic data. Psychologists acknowledge the awkwardness of icebreakers and say that they don't have to be pleasant to be effective. Now, this is academia, right? And this is why I always say you need to get the information from all angles. So then you can, okay, what am I going to do with all this information, these opposing views? A well-executed icebreaker must accomplish 3 things. So pay attention, take notes. The first is to put people at ease and calm their anxiety about public speaking. So this is academia. I'm going to talk about 3 things, right? Apparently, the only way to do that is to get people talking, exposure therapy, if you ask me. Once they say a few sentences, anxiety eases. It makes sense, right? However, how about those of us who have no anxiety about speaking in public? We just simply don't want to engage in meaningless conversations. What about introverts? The latest data indicates that there is a roughly equal distribution of introverts and extroverts within the population who, despite their personality traits differences, are being forced to engage in a situation that doesn't come naturally to them. Me. So this is the first one, right? So they acknowledge, and the first one is to ease, calm anxiety. But not everybody is anxious about public speaking. I'm not. I just don't want to play games. Give me the information and let me move on with my life. And I'm sure I'm not alone. And I'm sure that there are other people who would like to, because they are anxious about, so as a trainer or as a facilitator, you need to cater for everybody. The second purpose is something I can get on board with. And I use it when teaching lifestyle hotel concepts, for example. An icebreaker activity can set a tone for the rest of the session as it lays the foundation for others to model behavior. If the facilitator interrupts and shouts out things randomly, it will be okay to do so for participants during the session. If the activity requires people to wait for their turn to speak, it is likely that they will behave in the same structured way later. Icebreakers are also great opportunities for people to manage their first impression about themselves. If someone tells a joke, he or she wants to come across as funny or just really doesn't know what to say. If someone presents a fact or data, that would be me, the impression of that person will be smart or accomplished. As a facilitator, you should consider these when planning and conducting an activity. During the planning phase, establish the desired dynamic of your session. Do you want a more fun and unstructured atmosphere, or a more rigid, straight to the point one? Once you know, you can design the icebreaker accordingly if you really must. Once again, you don't always have to, most of the time you don't need an icebreaker. Now, the third purpose is my greatest nightmare. Encouraging people to talk about themselves, to build relationships and foster psychological safety. An environment in which people feel free to speak up, ask questions, or challenge ideas without the fear of being ostracized. Relationships are all about self-disclosure over a long period of time. Pay attention. Icebreakers intend to accelerate this process of what would likely occur naturally over several days or weeks. I do not question the correlation between self-disclosure and relationship because anecdotal and academic evidence and my own experience support that. My issue is that the fact that we don't establish relationships with everybody, even during a long period of time. Nature selects, and we instinctively know who our matches are. When a trainer gives the task of self-disclosure, of getting to know the person who I or nature haven't chosen, it is likely to result in a superficial, uninteresting conversation that defeats the purpose of the whole idea of an icebreaker. The good news is that organizational psychologists agree that 5 to 10 minutes of such activity is not sufficient for team cohesion in terms of establishing trust and deeper level of relationships, but it can be a starting point. It can be is the key phrase here. So there's no guarantee. So you're putting through people a useless activity that they don't want because it can be. So trainers and education specialists are running activities that are based on a vague "it can be" that translates from academic language to plain English as we have an almost equal amount of opposing evidence to prove and discredit this theory. So these were the three. So icebreakers, good. Some support, some doesn't support. Now, once again, if the team knows each other, you don't need an icebreaker. But if you need an icebreaker, and sometimes we do, here is how we could do, or what we could do instead. Make sure it has a purpose. No, not the let's get to know each other game. People will do that later on. But a real objective that is linked to the training topic. The one that allows you to introduce the topic, gets participants to think about the experiences related to it, and gets them talking with others, getting to know them that way. Here is an example that I often use that. Start with the simple exercise of finish the sentence. The memory that comes to mind in regards to the topic is ... And one thing I learned from this experience is ... So if you are training about change management, if you are training about communication, if you are training about discrimination, harassment, whatever you are training, just ask the question, finish the sentence. The memory that comes to my mind in regards to the topic is... And one thing I learned from this experience is that's the perfect way of icebreaker. People will start talking to each other. they start talking, and you also get the brain to start thinking about the topic. So you ease them into the topic with an age-appropriate activity. Now, let's go down to team building, because this, everybody knows, I hate team building exercise, because no team building exercise activity has ever built a team. And this is how I would like to start. I don't know why they do this to adults. It's not me who is saying this. Adults. It was at school that made us do 3 days of bonding. How about 3 days of working collaboratively or doing something actually productive? This is how people feel about your team building activities. I have participated in team building activities where we had to do, that was actually fun. I like that, but it didn't build a team. They rented a whole guitar, drum, every kind of musical instrument, and we had to do a song. I walked by 500 miles. That was the song. It was fun. It was difficult, so it's age appropriate, right? And in terms of technically and learning a lot of things, but it didn't actually build a team. We went back to as dysfunctional as we were before. But we had a good day out. But most team building exercises are just waste of time and money. And you know, leaders and managers and HR and CEOs, they're very quick to ask, what is your ROI on your training? But they are very eager to pump millions of dollars every year into these waste of space activities that yield absolutely no result. No team building activity has ever built a team. It's most of the time it's just a fun day out, but we don't address situations, we don't address the problems, we don't address why the team is dysfunctional, and most of the time it doesn't address the leader who has created this dysfunctional team or inherited the dysfunctional team. So when we are talking, and now I'm gonna leave the book, I will keep it has a lot in terms of what we could do instead of team building, but let me go into this, because when you have a dysfunctional team, the first thing that we need to look at, first of all, team building. The first question is always, do we need a team building? If it's yes, why? Why? If the team is functioning very well together, you don't need a team building. Now, you want to go out and have fun, do it. But don't call it a team building, because it doesn't do anything, okay? Second of all, if we don't need a team building, go out, have fun. I always support that, because you need to build relationships amongst the team members, and then that's how you actually build a team. One way of doing that. Now, if the team is dysfunctional, don't go into a team building activity. First, you need to work together with the leader. Have you inherited the dysfunctional team? Fantastic. What are the problems? What do we need to do? Have you created the dysfunctional team that now we need to put together because it has fallen into pieces because of you? So, and what happened there? So first, if that's the case, you need to work sometimes for months with that leader to build that, to understand what the problems are and how that leader is ruining the team, because maybe you don't need to work with the team members, but only on the leader, because the team members are just dysfunctional, reacting to the poor leadership. I have seen it millions of times. Leaders don't want to look into the mirror, and they drag their employees into team building activities, but they are the ones who need to be worked on, not the team members. The team members are just reacting to it. So if this is the case, first we work with the leader, figure out what the hell he or she is doing, and then we see if the team needs to be. But at the same time, how we work with the leader is one-to-one coaching, right? So we are building a team, but I need to deal with the leader of that team first. And at the same time, I need to collect information from the team members, what is causing the problem. Because without understanding it and going out to have a fun day out, it's not going, please don't do this. So you collect information and you work through it, you coach the leader. So team building activities must teach the leader how to build his or her team, because that's a leadership skill nobody's talking about, okay? Because that leader will go to another organization and he or she can take that skill and build another team. Because guess what? Team building is a continuous activity, is a continuous thing that leaders do. Whether I stay here, my team members will change, so now I need to look at it from very different perspective. Then I go to another organization, I need to build a team over there. So it's a constant thing. It's not just one-off and now we all build together. Nobody has ever built a team like that. Then you work together with the team or the leader, and then at the team together. Then you look at the team members. Ask the leader, based on what would you like to build a team? Is it based on their strengths, their competencies, their performance, their skills? So then you come up with a strategy. Okay, how do I build that team? And so they are high performer, because the team building, the purpose of a team building or building a team, forget about the team building phrase, is to get the best out of your people, right? Otherwise, why would you build a team? The reason we build a team, because the team is dysfunctional and not performing, right? So what we want with the team building a team is the team to perform better. So based on what do we want them to perform better? And these are the conversations that we have with leaders. So in this book, let me just give you a few pointers in here. Instead, what we can do, instead of, look at this, because these are the things that drive me absolutely bonkers. Where is the picture? I lost it. Oh no, it's here. Now, this is the icebreakers and team building activities that we do to people. Look, she's very happy coloring llamas, okay? And then these guys, what the hell are they doing? Is this what we need to do to people? Tell me this is normal, because these are the things when I lose the will to live, okay? Now, but what we can do instead, build an environment where the stuff is not at each other's throats. So once again, work with the leader. So you don't need to organize team building. Build your procedures and policies and manning and everything around in a way that it creates a pleasant work environment. Because sometimes the people are dysfunctional, or the team is dysfunctional, and people are in conflict because of policies, workload, the structures, systems, doesn't work, etc., etc. So this, you build the environment, first of all, right? Hire competent people, because guess what? Incompetence stresses people out and it disintegrates the team. If people are not in a similar level of competency or competence, you will have a problem. So that's why I say, based on what do you want to build your team on? Competence, strengths, what do you want? Organize useful team building sessions. Yes, there are useful team building activities that facilitate the development of self-awareness about skills, strengths, and personality traits. So once we learn about each other, we understand how we can work together. Have heart, honest conversation and genuine conversation with the team. Team building's core element is to provide a platform to examine different opinions, reconcile them, and move forward constructively. So sit down and say, I understand we are facing some challenges. So let's put them on the table so we can deal with them one by one. This is how you start addressing problems and build a team. It's a long process. Sometimes you build a team one piece at a time, like a puzzle, which means one-to-one coaching with people who are destroying the team morale. Don't take everybody, it's not a huddle. Don't take everybody because Sylvia is stupid and Irina is stupid. These two are ruining the team morale. So now we take everyone because we were told not to single out because it's offensive. No, grab Sylvia and Irina, come here, two of you. Why the hell are you doing this to the team? These are the consequences of your actions. What are we going to do? Because my job as your leader and manager is not to spend more time on managing the two of you than the overall team. That is the conversation you are having with your people. Okay? Now the video is too long. Arrange regular events. And I support that. And I had that with my ex-boss. He was fantastic at that. He was fantastic at bringing us together. And he didn't even have to be there. So sport events, weekly tennis match, weekly go to the pub. We used to go to the pub. And we were there all the time. And we had the best team. And now 15 years that we haven't been working together, 13 years, 14 years. And we are still very, very close. And we were running a very, very busy operation. We made millions and millions of pounds every single year. And it was hectic. And when we had to work 72 hours and we had to work without days off, nobody ever said anything because the team was like that. The level of competence was the same. It was just the perfect team. I haven't had such a team ever since or before. So bringing people together is good, but don't call it as a team building. What you are doing it's part of it. It's vital. It's building relationships, but it cannot be once a month, once a year. It has to be very frequent, so people will join a weekly tennis match or whatever activity you want to do, where there are no awkward moments and the sport rules are setting the boundaries. Especially when the team is dysfunctional, so people can have to work together. So let's say Irina and I don't like each other and we need to play together on the team tennis. The rules, the sport rules give us, the sport gives us the rules, and we need to work together, and there's a very clear, you lose or win kind of situation. Now, I'm not saying you do sport, but do whatever, but you have to do it frequently, every week, but every 2 weeks, bringing people together. So eventually what this boss of mine did, it was like we had the hotel here and pubs in London everywhere, right? And we went to Westfield to the pub, which is 5 minutes from there. And he started doing it, not intentionally. I don't think it was intentional. So then he goes like, who is joining? Then we went, and then you just realize that he's no longer coming. Once a month maybe, but we were all there, and we were there almost every single day. I didn't go every day, but somebody would be there. And the beautiful thing was that anytime I finished work, I could, even if alone, I would go into this pub and I knew that somebody would be there, my colleagues, and that was it. That was our place, and he used to say when we had a fight at work, go and fight, you will figure it out in the pub after work. And we did. So this is all I had to say about training games, icebreakers, and team building activities. There are different ways of doing it. Now, once again, if you want to have fun and have the ridiculous games, have it, Let your hair down. I'm not against it. I used to play a lot of games at work. Hide and seek. I love hide and seek. But I don't like the organized one, because then you would say, okay, so team building is not to build a team, but what about just getting together for fun? Absolutely, do it. But my question is, does it have to be organized? Why do we need to organize fun? Have people lost their ability to naturally socialize? And that's my problem, That is my problem with people today. That, hey, if I want to have fun, and I receive this comment, oh, but I'm looking forward to this because that's the only time I have fun. Now, let's not mobilize organizations around your lack of social life. I don't want to do it just because you have no friends outside of work, okay? So we need to have these conversations. Now, go ahead, have fun. But don't make it mandatory. Don't organize fun. Somehow figure it out in a way that other people don't feel forced to go for these team building activities, outings, or whatever you do. Because this is what happens. Half of the population don't want to have anything to do with it. But when we are not going along, we are labeled as not a team player or a negative person or whatever. We are not. We just have life outside of work. Or, you know what, today I just don't want to go. I don't show up even with the best team, with this London team. I didn't show up all the time. There were times like, guys, I love you, but I need to go home. I need rest. And so, but unfortunately, people feel that they are forced to attend these parties and all that. Take that burden away and make it clear that, you know what, is optional. You want to come. And eventually people will come. Maybe don't come every single time. But what you want to achieve, even if they come once, but they want to come. They want to be there. And that's the best sign that you are doing the great job. Maybe it will take 3 months for Sylvia to show up, but she will show up if you keep at it. And if you don't give up at the first, oh, nobody came. Well, probably nobody followed Jesus after his first preaching. I don't know. Well, that's all I have. I hope it's not going to be too controversial. I'm very upset today because I upset my best friend. And that doesn't feel really good. But hey, here's the book. And I will put the link for the second book as well. And please do treat adults age appropriately, not like a kindergarten. From the second book, I still don't have the author copy. This sign disappeared, and it teaches you how to design employee experiences. So we don't have to go through the corporate merry-go-round. Enjoy the sun and enjoy the rest of the Sunday. And I can't even speak. I need to message my friend because this bugs me so much. I made a mistake and I already apologized and he just ignores my message. All right, bye.